All right, let's talk about something super frustrating. You pull a big load of laundry out of your dryer, and it's still cold, still damp, and to top it all off, your LG dryer is just sitting there flashing this HE error at you. Don't worry, you've come to the right place. We are going to get this fixed.
So yeah, if you're seeing that HE code, your dryer's heating system has basically gone on strike. But the good news is we're going to walk you through exactly what that code means and the step-by-step process to figure out what's wrong and get it running again.
First things first, we need to play detective and understand what the dryer is actually trying to tell us. You know, HE isn't just some random code. It's pointing to a very, very specific kind of problem. Okay, so HE stands for heater error. And when the dryer sees this, it shuts down the whole heating system as a safety measure. But here's the twist, and this is really important. What HE means depends entirely on what kind of dryer you have. If it's electric, you've got a problem in the heating circuit. But if it's a gas dryer, it means the ignition system failed to light the flame. Same code, two totally different problems.
And that brings us to the absolute most important first step. Before you even think about picking up a single tool, you have got to know if you're dealing with an electric or a gas dryer, because the way we fix them are completely different paths.
So how do you tell? It's actually really easy. Go take a peek behind your dryer. Do you see a huge, heavy-duty plug with maybe 3 or 4 big prongs? That's your 240-volt electric dryer. Or, do you see a regular wall plug, the kind you'd use for a lamp, plus a flexible metal hose that's hooked up to a gas pipe? That, my friend, is a gas dryer. Figure this out now, because everything we do next depends on it.
Okay, so if you looked behind your machine and saw that big, beefy plug, this section is for you. We're on the electric dryer path, and we're about to hunt down whatever's wrong in that heating circuit.
Whoa, hold on. Before we go 1 inch further, stop. This is not a suggestion. That 240-volt outlet has more than enough juice to be extremely dangerous. Please, go to the wall and physically unplug the dryer. Pull the cord right out. Your safety is way more important than dry clothes.
So, what are we looking for? Well, here's our lineup of the usual suspects. The problem is almost definitely one of these 5 things. It could be the heating element itself. That's the big coil that gets red hot. Or it could be one of the little safety parts designed to protect it, like the thermal fuse or one of the thermostats. In some rare cases, it could even be the main control board. But let's not go there just yet.
So, where do we start? Step 1 might actually surprise you. Clean your vent. I'm serious. A clogged vent is the #1 reason these parts fail. It traps all that heat, the dryer overheats, and pop goes the safety fuse. So clean it out first. Then you'll take off the back panel of the dryer and get out your multimeter.
Now, if you've never used a multimeter, don't worry. It's pretty simple. We're going to test the heating element. Set your meter to ohms. When you touch the probes to the 2 terminals on the element, you should get a reading somewhere between 10 and 50. If you get OL, that means open line. The coil inside is broken. It's toast. Even more important, test from each terminal to the metal casing of the element. It must read OL. If you get any number at all, that's a dangerous short, and you have to replace it immediately.
Right there on that same heater assembly, you're going to see a few other small parts. These are your fuses and thermostats. The test for these is even easier. You're just checking for continuity, which is basically a fancy word for seeing if electricity can pass through. A good part will give you a reading really close to 0. If you see that OL again, it means the part is blown, the path is broken, and that's your problem. That little thermal fuse is a very, very common culprit.
All right, let's hit the brakes and switch gears completely. If you're the one who saw that regular plug in the gas line, this is your chapter. We're now diving into the gas dryer's ignition system.
And you guessed it, safety first. For a gas dryer, it's a 2-step process, and both are absolutely non-negotiable. First, unplug the dryer from the wall to kill all the electricity. Second, find that gas shutoff valve on the pipe behind it and turn the handle so it's off. Do not move on until both the power and the gas are completely secured.
For a gas dryer, we have a whole different list of suspects. And I'll tell you right now, the #1 most common reason for an HE error on a gas dryer is a failed glow igniter. That's the part that gets red hot to light the gas. It could also be the flame sensor, the gas valve itself, or, something as simple as the gas supply being turned off.
So let's start with the most likely bad guy, that igniter. You'll need to take the front panel off your dryer to get a good look at the burner down at the bottom. The very first thing to do is just use your eyes. Look really closely at that little white ceramic part. Do you see any tiny cracks? Is there a piece broken off? A lot of the time, the damage is plain as day.
If it looks okay visually, it's multimeter time again. A good, healthy glow igniter should give you a resistance reading somewhere between, say, 30 and 400 ohms. If your meter screen says OL, or you get a really high number like over 500, that thing has failed. It just can't get hot enough anymore to do its job. Now, if your igniter tested good, the next thing to check is the flame sensor. It's just a thin metal rod that can get covered in soot. You can also listen. When the dryer tries to heat up, you should hear a clear click from the gas valve. If you don't hear that click, that could be your problem. And hey, it sounds silly, but it never hurts to just double-check that the gas valve on the pipe is turned all the way on.
Okay, deep breath. Doesn't matter if you have a gas or an electric dryer, let's bring it all back together and talk about the final critical points before you decide what to do next. I'm going to say these one more time because they're that important. For electric dryers, keep that vent clean. It's the best insurance against this happening again. And if you found a ground short, that part is a genuine fire hazard and has to go. For gas dryers, your nose is your best safety tool. If you smell gas at any point, just stop. Turn off the supply, open a window, and call a professional. Just don't take any chances.
So, the big question, can you fix this yourself? I think you can. For a gas dryer, replacing that igniter is honestly a really simple job, and the part isn't very expensive. For an electric dryer, changing out the heating element is a little more involved, but it's totally doable. The only time you might want to pause is if you think it's the main control board. That part can get pricey, and that's when you have to weigh the cost of repair versus a new machine.
So there you have it. You've followed the clues, you've used your meter, and you have found the culprit. You now officially know way more about how your dryer works than you did 20 minutes ago. The only question left is, with everything you know now, are you ready to go in there and bring it back to life?